Hey, this is Doug at Bicycle Evolution. We are going to do another one of our series of road fixes to get you home. We're going to do today a rear derailleur cable breakage. So right here I've got a bike and we're going to start with the rear mech. And what's it? Uh-oh, wait a minute. This is a cruise bike. Maybe we're not going to do the rear mech on this one. We'll do the front mech on this one because, you know, cruise bikes have the front derailleur over here. Or the rear derailleur in the front and the front derailleur in the rear. They're just different, but they're great. We love cruise bikes. And this right here is a brand new Q45 that we've got. So let's start out first over to something a little bit more simple. Let's go and use a regular mountain bike. We'll come back to this guy later. This is the rear derailleur. This is the same on almost every bike. It is two triangles on a pivot point. And the reason they do that is it's got to go back and forth to take up the chain tension down here, and then it's got to go this way across the axle to hit each one of the cogs as it shifts. So what it really does is that there's a cable along in here, and in this bike it's open so you can see it. And this causes it to move. You can see it move a little bit while I pull on the cable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pedal the bike and I'm going to shift just by pulling the cable, just like that. So now I've got tension on that cable with my thumb, and we've shifted up to the high gear, or to the low gear for climbing. I'm going to let it off a little bit and you can see what happens. So now all I really need to do is keep changing the tension on that cable to keep rotating the rear derailleur. So I can also do it by coming back here and pushing on the triangle like this. So now I've got it back into the into the low gear, the high cog. Let it back to about right here. So now if this cable breaks, all we need to do is find a way to get this to stay in the gear we want it. If we're in a flat area, we might not care. We might just let it sit like this. But if we're in a hilly area, we're going to want it somewhere up along in here. And so let me show you how we do this. Okay, stop. Okay, we're out here. We're going to look for some Shimano compatible shifting rocks and things. So actually right here we found some good ones. This guy right here looks like it's probably going to get us number 3 or number 2 on that one. And let's see if we can find another one down here. I don't even remember. But we're in some weird class of rock hound that are actually, instead of looking for a special rock, we are actually looking for something that will fit our derailleur. Oh, and looky here, we might hit the jackpot. I got all sorts of stuff here. So, yeah, this is going to work good here. That's going to get us into gears. Get a couple more of these things. All right, that should be good. Let's go back inside and see what we can do with this. Okay, earlier I went out in the parking lot and I found myself some Shimano compatible shifter cables. Well, Shimano compatible shifters. Since I live in a fairly hilly area here, I'm going to select this shifter because it is more likely to get me in the third ring or the second ring on the cog, so I'm in a lower gear. All right, that was enough pause. Now, to get this to work, we're going to put it in our little triangle here. We're going to rotate this out and kind of stick it in here tight so that it fits in and locks into place. And there's a couple of wedges, place to wedge this thing in here that will work. I may have just gotten it. Make sure it's all in place. And we kind of came over a little bit when we started pedaling, so we'll move this back so it doesn't hit it anymore. Here we go. And we're back. We're between gears there. One more there. There we go. Now we're in our third spot. So we're in a little bit less precarious position for hill climbing and a little bit lower gear on the bike. All right, we have our Shimano compatible rock here, and we've decided to change bikes so you can see what this looks like on a regular recumbent. In this case, I'm going to rotate our derailleur around, and I'm going to slip this little rock into place so that I can get, let's turn it a little bit better, there we go, so I can get myself into a higher gear get home. Okay, if you'll give it a pedal, it will go ahead and shift up, and that will get us low enough gear to possibly get home. If you don't have a rock, any old piece of trash you can find on the road can almost work. So in this case, we have a Shimano piece of garbage. A Shimano compatible piece of garbage. So we will fold this thing over and make it as tight as possible. This isn't as solid as our rock, but it's going to work. Go ahead and take this out and slip this up in here. All right, if you'll give it a little pedal, get it to shift, and off she goes. Look at that. So all we have to do is stick something in there to hold it in place and let the spring tension keep the bike where it needs to be. Okay, good. So now we've got a cruise bike here, which has got a whole different configuration, but the fundamental mechanisms are the same. In this case, this derailleur moves in and out as it rotates around right here. The problem is that there's no triangle where the drop mount, the hanger mounts. So we're going to have to get even more creative about how you do that. But basically, we need to make this part of the derailleur go inside here to grab these larger cogs, so that we can climb the hills to get home. If we pedal, we can find that we can just push this thing, and it'll go right in place. So all we need to do is hold it in place to make it work. Now, in this case, since our shop mechanic's not here, I'm going to borrow his back scratcher, which would be good for any stick or anything else you could find out on the road. And I'm just going to kind of wedge it in here, pull that around like that, set that like that, and voila, we now have our bike perfectly ready for a climbing gear to go home in. How about that? And once I start rotating the pedals, it's going to spring out and we're going to fall on the floor.